Foreman, Donald Evers pushed through the cook tent flap at dawn and stopped cold. Every trail tool, Pulaski's, Maddox, McLeod's crosscut saws, had been arranged in a precise geometric circle on the dirt where they'd been stacked against the fallen log the night before.
Nobody's going to own this, but someone in my crew is lying. Who did it? I'm not asking again. Tools don't walk.
I swear, nobody left their tent. I heard something scraping, but I thought it was an animal.
Probably just a prank, right? Somebody thinks they're funny.
I want the truth. If this happens again, there will be consequences.
The crew worked the rest of the day in a haze of suspicion and silence. That evening, Donald personally stacked the tools by the log and warned the crew that the next prankster would be sent home.
I'll hear them. If anyone moves, I'll hear them.
He checked the tool cache one last time, then settled in. By midnight, exhaustion claimed him. Before dawn on the fourth morning, Tessa's voice yanked Donald from a thin sleep.
Donald, the tools, they're back in the circle. Exactly the same.
This can't be a prank. Not twice.
The crew gathered, staring at the circle. Donald's voice was raw with anger.
Who did it? I'm not going to ask again. You all heard me last night.
I swear, we were all in our tents. If someone had moved, I would have heard something.
Maybe it's a message. You know how seasonal crews get. Someone with a grudge.
But no one could explain how it happened without a sound. Donald's authority felt the strain.
No more. We're setting a night watch. 2-hour shifts. I'll take the first.
The crew dispersed, the circle still untouched. The easy answer had become a shape with no edge. The night watch passed without event. But at dawn, the tools were in the same circle.
I had a nightmare, standing in the middle of that circle, and I couldn't move.
I can't logic it out anymore. There's no way someone on this crew is doing it without leaving something.
Enough. I am getting the trail camera. We'll catch whoever is doing this.
He retrieved the camera from his pack, checked its batteries, and felt a cold weight settle in his stomach.
What if it doesn't show a person? What if there's nothing to see?
At dusk, he strapped the camera to a pine, lens fixed on the tool cache, red motion sensor armed.
This runs all night. No one goes near the tools. I want answers.
In the blackness, the camera's LED blinked like a heartbeat, and the crew felt something watching them. They lay awake, waiting for the morning that would change everything. Sometime after midnight, a faint humming threaded through the basin. Tessa's eyes snapped open.
That's not wind. Someone is out there.
I saw a figure near the tree line, a tall man in old clothes. I swear it wasn't a bear.
Donald swept the tree line with his flashlight, but the beam found only pines. At first light, they rushed to the camera. The tool circle was there, unbroken. He played back the footage. The recording began with the tools already in the circle.
The motion sensor didn't trigger. That shouldn't be possible.
The footage showed nothing but dark, still forest, as if the camera had slept through it. He swapped the battery and set the camera to a longer pre-record mode, determined to catch it all. That evening, they re-aimed the lens, the red LED blinking against the coming dark. Day 6 collapsed into a brittle silence. No one joked. Everyone listened for what the night would bring.
The camera mount is solid. No footprints. Nothing out of place.
That evening, Ryan crouched beside Donald at the watch post, refusing to sleep.
Something is going to happen tonight. I can feel it in my teeth.
A little after 2, a scrape began. Metal on dirt, low and purposeful. It stopped whenever they turned toward it.
It's toying with us, waiting for us to stop looking.
At exactly 3, an infrared flash ignited the pines, a white flare in the dark. They stumbled to the cache. The tools already sat in a perfect circle, the ground empty around them. The camera's LED pulsed twice, a signal that it had finally captured something. At first light, Donald pulled the memory card. He told the crew he'd review it alone. No one argued. Inside his tent, with the morning sun barely warming the canvas, Donald slotted the memory card and pressed play. The infrared timestamp read 2:47. The tools lay scattered until the Pulaski twitched and began to slide. No hands, no figure. The mattock pulled itself a foot across the dirt. A crosscut saw pivoted and rolled like a slow wave. By 3:01, the circle was perfect, and the forest went still. He played it back 4 times.
It's real. Every night, something moves them. Something invisible.
He called the crew into the cook tent. Before the screen flickered, their faces already knew.
Oh, God. That's not a prank. That's something else.
We're not staying. We have to hike out. Now.
12 miles in a panic on no sleep. We stay. Sleep together in here. Finish the project. That's an order.
No one argued. That night, 8 bodies crammed into the cook tent, and no one closed their eyes. At 2:55, a scrape began right outside the cook tent, close, metallic, and purposeful. Donald's flashlight beam stabbed through the canvas, tracking the sound. The beam caught a mattock sliding across the dirt, inches from a backpack, with no one near it.
Get back. It's right outside.
They pressed together, shoulders locked, until the scraping stopped, and the circle was complete. They waited out the night in that tent, none of them stepping outside until the sun came up. In the morning, the tools were in their circle, but the center held something new, a crew jacket spread flat as if arranged. It was deliberate. The circle had claimed something personal, a message none of them wanted to read.
No one touch it. Not one tool.
They left the jacket where it lay, hollow-eyed, and none of them could pretend they were still in control. The crew refused to work the trail. They sat scattered around camp, hollow-eyed and silent. Donald checked the satellite phone. No signal. The steep basin had swallowed all contact.
What aren't you telling us, Donald? You've been holding something back since the first circle.
He walked to the creek alone, no answer to give, just the need to get away. His boot struck something metallic under the pine duff, a rusted Pulaski head with a rotted stub.
Aikte, stamped deep into the steel, like a brand. Someone else was here.
He slipped the relic into his pocket and carried it back to camp, the cold metal seeping through his glove. That evening, he set the rusty tool on the camp table. His crew's faces drained further. They slept in the cook tent again, the old tool near the door. No one closed their eyes. And in the dark, the initials seemed to pulse with a question none of them could afford to answer. 3 days remained until extraction. The tools sat untouched in their circle, a monument to their dread. On the second to last night, Tessa's scream tore through the cook tent at exactly 3. Ryan stood in the center of the circle, eyes open but vacant, his body rigid as if already claimed.
Ryan, can you hear me?
Donald and Tessa hauled him out. He came to with a gasp, no memory of leaving the tent.
I don't know how I got there. I swear I was asleep.
A thin vertical scratch ran up his arm, fresh and deliberate.
No more work. We lock down, stay together until extraction, not losing anyone.
They tied a rope around Ryan's ankle that night, but no one slept. The silence felt hungry. In the dark, they counted heartbeats, waiting for dawn. The next morning, the old Pulaski, stamped HK, sat in the center of the circle. Donald had kept it in his pack. No one had touched it.
It was in my pack. I checked before bed. Something else put it there.
That's the old head you found. Wasn't it in your bag?
They packed only essentials. Donald put the camera and the old tool deep in his backpack.
Once we're out, I'm going straight to the district supervisor. He has to see this.
They spent one last night in the tent, silent, counting hours until sunrise. At first light, they broke camp without a word. None of them looked at the circle as they left. The crew hiked out single file, the basin growing smaller behind them. At the trailhead, they loaded packs into green NPS trucks, no one speaking. Donald carried the camera and the relic. He meant to force someone to acknowledge the evidence. Donald drove straight to the district office in Yosemite Valley, still wearing the dust and exhaustion of the basin.
Merton's been doing this longer than most. He's seen things. He'll understand.
He set the camera on the desk and pressed play without waiting for permission. Merton watched the footage without blinking, his face a stone wall.
This isn't the first time, Donald. Delete the file and never speak of it again.
Number. I've watched tools move on their own. My crew is shattered. I need answers.
Answers get people hurt. That basin is a quiet zone. Policy. You don't look into it. You don't talk about it.
Quiet zone. That's a cover-up. He knows exactly what's out there. The initials HK on an old Pulaski belong to someone who died there. I'll know what happened, or I'll go to the regional office.
Merton leaned forward, his hand resting on a locked drawer. The promise of an answer hung between them. Merton unlocked the drawer and pulled out a yellowed folder, handling it like evidence from a crime scene.
Every crew that camps overnight in that basin since the 60s has reported the same thing. Tools in a circle. No one harmed, but it doesn't stop.
Why hasn't anyone looked into it? Why cover it up?
Because when people dig, bad things happen. We lost a team of investigators in '72. Never found them, so it's quiet. Policy.
He placed the folder on the desk. The stamped label glared under the lamplight. Missing, CCC Trail Crew, Yosemite Basin, 1934.
CCC. 1934. A whole crew vanished here, just like us.
8 men, just like your team. They left their tools in a perfect circle before they disappeared. That's where you found the rusted head from.
Donald's hand trembled. He hadn't expected this. Merton didn't open the folder, but its weight pressed down on the room. Merton opened the folder. Typewritten reports, a yellowed newspaper clipping, and a photograph spilled across the desk. Report. The 12th August 1934. 8-man CCC trail crew vanished from fire camp, North Fork Yosemite Creek. All crew tools recovered in precise circle. No bodies found. Then the photograph. 8 young men in CCC uniforms, holding Pulaskis and saws, the foreman staring hard at the camera.
That's him, Herman Klein. I have his tool.
Donald placed the rusted Pulaski on the desk, beside the 1934 photograph. The initials matched the foreman in the picture.
That tool disappeared with them. Now you know why we don't dig.
There was no explanation, no cause, just a circle of tools, a missing crew, and a file buried in NPS archives.
Delete the footage. Forget what you saw, and never camp in that basin again.
I'll hold on to this photo, then, and I'll carry the knowing. But I won't ever go back.
He understood now. Some circles never break, and some secrets are kept not for safety, but because the truth is worse. Donald picked up the camera. He'd captured the impossible, and now he had to erase it.
Hit delete. That's the price for knowing.
He pressed the button. The screen asked for confirmation. Then the file was gone. Merton watched, returned the folder to the cabinet, and turned the key. The click was final.
Did their families ever get told what happened?
Weather exposure. Case closed. It's easier that way.
Merton told him to go home, take a few days. Donald left the office and walked toward his truck. Instead of driving, he sat on a bench outside the station, the CCC crew photograph in his hands.
I can't tell my crew. They'd never sleep again. Some things have to stay buried.
He didn't know if he was protecting them or just buying his own silence. The guilt was permanent. In the years that followed, Donald kept his word. He never camped overnight in that basin again.
I'll trade assignments, take the eastern route. Anything to stay clear.
He told new crew leaders he'd had a bad experience. Never the details, never the full truth. The photograph of Herman Klein's CCC crew stayed tucked in the corner of his bathroom mirror. The rusted Pulaski head rested on a shelf in his garage, untouched, gathering more rust. Some nights, he'd jerk awake from a dream of standing in the circle, the tools arranged around him in the dark.
Officially, the basin is closed for resource protection. but every veteran ranger knows the real reason.
The circle has appeared for other crews since. Reports filed, then quietly buried. The Park Service just reassigned the affected teams, never investigating, never commenting. Donald understood he was part of that silence now, guarding a secret he could never share. One evening, a message from Tessa Delgado waited in his inbox. She had left the Park Service years ago. I still see it when I close my eyes. Do you think they're still there?
She's still carrying it. So am I. But answering would only pull her back into the dark.
He deleted the email without replying. The cursor blinked once, and the screen went blank. He stared at the empty screen, the reflection of his own tired face staring back. Through the window, the pines were darkening into jagged silhouettes against an iron sky.
That sound, like metal dragging. Just the wind, just my mind.
He closed the blinds. The room felt smaller, sealed off from the outside. The silence that followed was thick, a presence that asked questions he would never answer. Outside, the night held its breath. Some circles never break, and some memories never fade. Years later, a new trail crew was pulled out of the basin under emergency orders. They had found the tools in the same circle. A young ranger addressed them with a flat, practiced voice. Sensitive resource area. Standard procedure. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. They had heard the campfire stories. Every crew that stayed overnight found the circle. They packed their gear and hiked out in silence, not looking back at the arranged tools. The camera lingered on the tool circle, undisturbed and eternal, as if waiting for the next crew. Wind moved through the pines, the only sound in the empty basin. The rusted Pulaski bearing the initials HK still lay at the center, a silent witness to decades of vanishings. The Park Service never revisited the area. The quiet zone held. The loop continued. A circle of tools, a missing crew, a file in an archive, and a secret that would never be fully buried. Some circles never break. The rusted Pulaski head hung on a nail in Donald's garage. One evening, it began to swing, gently, as if touched by a passing hand. The photograph of Herman Klein's CCC crew, faded and yellowing, sat in its frame. The foreman's eyes never left you. That winter, snow buried the basin. The tool circle vanished, but a perfect ring of disturbed snow marked where the tools lay beneath. In a dusty NPS archive, a heavy file drawer scraped shut. The sound echoed like a final answer no one would hear. By spring, the forest had begun to reclaim the campsite. Saplings pushed through the soft duff, but beneath the new growth, the circle held its shape, a ghost pattern in the earth. The rusted head, stamped HK, nestled in the pine needles, a silent sentinel waiting for the next crew. The loop had no end, and the basin waited. Some circles never break. Donald Evers still leads crews, but he never speaks of that high country basin. The rusted head hangs in his garage, a quiet relic of an unanswered question. The photograph of Herman Klein and his missing crew still rests against his bathroom mirror. Every morning, he catches the foreman's gaze. The basin remains closed to overnight crews, officially for resource protection. The real reason is whispered among the old-timers. The file on the 1934 disappearances sits in a locked cabinet, gathering more dust with each passing year. No one will open it again, but in the basin, the circle reforms each night, whether there are witnesses or not. The pattern is eternal, indifferent to policy and silence. Some questions have no answer. Some patterns outlast the people who built them. Donald knows he will die with the secret, and the circle will still be there. Some circles never break, and the basin waits for the next crew. In the dusty archive, a new file slides into the drawer. Same wording, tools found in circle. Crew denies all. Sensitive resource area. Case closed. The forest reclaims the clearing each spring, but the circle stays bald, as if the ground itself refuses to forget. Donald can't walk past a tool rack without his skin going tight. The sound of metal on stone still visits him in the small hours. The rusted head on the nail hasn't swung in years, but sometimes he swears the initials are deeper than they used to be. His old crew fractured, Tessa went to an office, Ryan to the coast. None of them have spoken since that extraction day. New rangers rotate through the district and ask about the closure. The old-timers offer a silence that smells like policy. In the locked drawer, the 1934 photograph softens into ghost, but Herman Klein's stare still finds the camera, as if waiting. The circle doesn't care about policies or silences. It will outlast the pines, the granite, the very memory of who built it. Some circles never break. They only grow deeper. Donald stands in his garage, the rusted Pulaski hanging still on its nail, a decade of silence between them. He doesn't touch it. Hasn't in years, but its weight presses a permanent cold into the skin of the room. The photograph on his bathroom mirror has faded to a silver ghost, yet Herman Klein's eyes still pierce the glass. In the basin, dawn, mist, lifts to reveal the tool circle already formed, the tools gleaming with cold dew. The archive drawer remains locked, dust thickening on the handle, the key long retired with the man who turned it. Donald catches himself listening for the scrape of metal on dirt, a sound that hasn't come but never truly left his nerves. He walks to the window, stares toward the high peaks. He knows the circle endures, with or without witnesses. Beneath the new growth, the circle holds its shape, a ghost pattern the earth refuses to forget. Some secrets are not kept. They keep you, long after you think you've buried them. Donald closes the garage door. The tool doesn't move. And somewhere in the high country, the circle forms again. The garage door thuds shut, sealing Donald into a life that no longer trusts its own silence. On his bathroom mirror, the ghost of Herman Klein stares through the silver. Donald no longer meets those eyes. He walks to the window, stares toward the high peaks. The circle is out there, forming without sound. Dawn touches the basin. Dew glitters on the arranged tools, a precise geometry that demands nothing and endures everything. The archive drawer holds its silence. Mice have nested in the dust. No one will ever turn that key again. The rusted Pulaski on the nail hasn't moved in years, but the initials seem to darken with the passing seasons. Donald no longer startles at the scrape of metal on stone. He's learned to live with a fear that has no name. The basin waits. The circle forms. The pines stand as mute witnesses to a pattern older than policy. Some circles never break. They only tighten around those who remember.